Happy day, children. Academy Pallikaranai. This is Class 6 Science Chemistry, Chapter 3 Fiber to Fabric, Part 2 video. In previous video, we have studied about cotton, how cotton is made into spin and then weaving and knitting also we have studied. Now we are going to study about jute. Jute is a long, soft, shiny plant fiber that can spun into coarse, strong threads. So jute is one of the cheapest natural fibers. Some of its useful properties are its biodegradability, durability and strength. So jute fibers is obtained from the stem of the plant. So unlike cotton, jute is cultivated in the rainy season. Some jute producing Indian states are Bihar, Assam and West Bengal. So the plant is harvested during its flowering stage. So the stem of these harvested plants are then soaked in water for 4 to 5 days and the stem are left to rot and then the fibers are picked out by hand. So yarn, from this the thread which is coming after the rotting process made into fibers in order to produce the fabric, that is jute bags, jute cloths, etc. So jute grows best in warm, humid climates where the annual rainfall is 150 centimeter or more. It is cultivated in rainy season. Sowing is done between February and May depending on the condition. So the crop is ready for harvest in 4 to 5 months. So almost 85% of world's jute cultivation is concentrated in the Sundarbans Delta in India, that is West Bengal and Bangladesh. So India is the largest producer of jute products in the world. So this is the jute plant. And after harvesting, what they will do, you can see the stem only we are going to take it. So after harvesting the stem, the stalk of the plants are tied into bundles. So like this, they are tied into bundles and retted. Retted means soaked in water for about 20 days. So like this, we have to just soak. So the stalks of the plant are tied into bundles and left in the stagnant water, soaked in water for about 20 days. In stagnant water, the stem of the jute plant will rot and the fibers get separated. So the fibers are then stripped from the stalk in long strands and washed in clear running water. Then they are hung up or spread out to dry. So like this jute plant, after soaking, plants are immersed in water and the rotten stems, you can see the color change, and then this one, after getting soaked from the water, they then are hung up. They have to hang up, spread out for drying. So after 2 to 3 days of drying, the fibers are tied into bundles and then sent into mills. Okay, so mainly they are usually made to sacks and coarse cloth. So these fibers are also woven into curtains, chair coverings, carpets, like this. So then after this jute fibers, it can be chiefly made for bags, coarse cloths and for other purpose. So if you see synthetic fibers, nylon and polyester are synthetic fibers. There are actually the plastics which is made from chemicals, but mostly from petroleum. So the plastics is first heated to melt it, called spinneret, which contains fine holes. So the long threads that emerge from the holes are allowed to cool and solidify. Several of these threads are twisted together to make the fabric, which is then used to make the synthetic cloth. Cloths made from synthetic fibers are stronger and do not wrinkle easily. They also dry up easily. So next is the history of clothing material. In earlier times, when people did not have access or the knowledge to process fiber, big leaves and the bark of trees were used by people to cover themselves. So after people began to settle in agricultural communities, they learned to weave twigs and grass into mats and baskets. Vines, animal fleece or hair were twisted together into long strands. The early Indians wore fabrics made out of cotton that grew in the regions near the river Ganga. Flax is also a plant that gives natural fibers. So in ancient Egypt, cotton as well as flax were cultivated near the river Nile and were used for making cloths. So in those days, stitching was not known. People simply draped the fabrics around different parts of their body. So many different ways of draping fabrics were used. So with the invention of sewing needle, people started stitching fabrics to make clothes. So in those days, they were not aware of the process of stitching. So after that, they learned the process of stitching, and stitched cloths have gone through many variations since the invention. So even today, unstitched cloths like saris, dhotis, lungis are widely in use. So just as there is the large variety in the food eaten all over a country, a large variety also exists in fabrics and clothing items. So it was then the invent of the sewing needle. People learned how to stitch fabrics to make fabrics. So this is the history of clothing material. Thank you, children.